always some reason. You don't want it.
So, good evening.
Good evening.
Ray Geary, Human Resources Manager. I submitted a couple of budget requests, two versions of it. One that has the changes of the impact of administrator's office. And the reason for my request is to fund the staffing of a human resources. So that is fully functional. As it stands right now, the breadth of work that is going on, that the department.
Could you speak up?
Sure, sorry.
Can't.
Sure. As it stands right now, the work that the department is charged with it's insurmountable. It is unsustainable and it's unrealistic for one person to be the human resources department, especially with the amount of issues that we're facing that revolve around compliance, employment issues, policies and regs, on top of trying to strategize for collective bargaining, health insurance, and policies, rules, regs, just for the town side. I've been lucky that the superintendent for public schools has given me some grace through the beginning of the next fiscal year. I anticipate it's going to pick up and it's going to be busy. And if that's the case, I'll have to neglect one side of the job, either the town side or the school side. So I'm respectfully requesting consideration of funding the department. I realize that it is quite a jump in terms of when you're looking at it from a level funding perspective. My first proposal would would reclassify my position to allow me to strategize, and would also bring on a lower level manager to help implement any changes that we, not just the changes, but to implement any programs that we need in order for us to be compliant, for us to be fully operational, to ensure that we're providing the level of customer service that we need to be providing to our employees and constituents, and would also provide for the day-to-day work, which is actually falling short right now. You know, we need the phones answered for one would be wonderful. The extensive amounts of data entry, especially now going into the open enrollment period, we're very, very manual. All of our changes will be done by me and one person in the treasurer's office. And we're expected to do those. We don't have a way to auto-populate. And so anything that needs to be done in that time frame, that'll also fall to the wayside. So as I was explaining, this first budget request would reclassify my position, requests for a lower level manager and then an assistant to help with the day-to-day.
Can I just, on the miscellaneous expenses,
Sure.
what are pre-employment physicals?
The town requires you to undergo a pre-employment physical as a condition of hiring. It's a fit for duty, essentially. It doesn't consist of anything strenuous, I would say, but it also depends on which department. The pre-employment physical can consist of just going to see the town physician in Leominster, or in some cases, such as Public Works and Facilities, also includes agility testing.
And so if I'm applying for a town job and I need to do that, I couldn't go to my doctor and get a
Correct.
physical, I have to go to the
Yes.
town person and then the town pays for that visit?
Correct.
Okay.
Excuse me, what's your role in the collective bargaining?
Cover a couple of people, right?
I'm sorry?
$2,000, how many people will that cover for hiring?
That's a really good question. The costs aren't extremely high right now. I wrote this before there was any potential changes and effects to policy and equipment. So it's not, I based the $2,000 based on our past 3 years of expenses. I feel like it'll be sufficient with the amount of recruiting that we actually do.
Okay.
Thank you. Your role in the collective bargaining, you said you were in the, that was part of your duties.
Yep, I actively participate, ask questions, work with council and the town administrator to come up with alternatives or ask questions. I'm an active participant and I implement the contract.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I have a question. Probably not for you, though. Does anyone know, did we always require pre-employment physicals? And if the answer is yes, how would they previously paid for it? Because I don't recall, although it might be just my memory, I don't recall this line item in other budgets.
Is Michael here? I think that would be,
The departments would normally pay for it, and
Yeah.
always require it.
okay. Did you hear that? The
I
departments?
did, I
Okay.
did. Thank you.
For the people at home, the departments always required them, but, sorry, what did you say, Diane?
Departments
pay.
But the departments would pay for it. Thank you.
Police department always paid for theirs.
Correct.
Whether it be a dispatcher or a police officer.
So I assume that that would continue, or is that not going to continue?
They pay for their departments for the lower levels. That $2,000 would be for anyone on the management line that would report directly to the town administrator. That would come from my budget.
Okay.
I have another question on the consultant services.
Sure.
So how often do we participate in a yearly salary study, or are salary studies for like towns something that just happen like on a more ad hoc basis?
They should be more, they should be on a schedule every few years. In my opinion, I think you'll encounter different ways that different towns apply that. And there are some towns that conduct regular salary studies and surveys that they put out. At a prior joint session with both of these committees and the personnel board, there was an agreement to conduct another salary study. So that's what that's in there for. I believe that the last salary study didn't focus on the needs of the job and focused more specifically on the employee that was performing the work. And I think that's why our salaries are not up to par.
Repeat that again, that's where our salaries are what?
They're not up to par, they're not competitive.
Thank you.
I'll move on to the second proposal. The alternative proposal, earlier this year, I presented the possibility or presented a job description to the chair of the select board, as well as the town administrator. A job description that would essentially merge the ATA with an HR director. It's not uncommon for small towns to have the ATA perform a dual role. It essentially just merged those two job descriptions. My position would stay as is, and then there would be a human resources assistant underneath that. So that would kind of mitigate a little bit of that extra cost. Bottom line is my department needs help and it needs staff to be able to function properly. Yes.
What proposal are you talking about? What's the
There's a
subtotal?
second
What's the subtotal? What's the subtotal, the amount?
218
218
is the second proposal. correct?
218 is the one, okay, thank you,
The 218 is your
Yes.
second proposal. Yeah.
thank you.
Or the 228,
228?
yes.
So 228 we have as
I
the
got it.
third one.
Yeah, I was gonna
The
say.
third?
It's in the packet, it's the third one in line. So the first one starts off with 283, the second one 218, and the third one is 227. I'm sorry, 228.
228.
So right now, you're looking at the 228.
Oh, yeah, I don't have a 218. I don't,
Oh,
I
that
think-
was the second one. That's the one I was
Yeah,
looking
there's
at.
I only
there's only
submitted
two.
I only submitted two.
Do you want to see what we're looking at?
283,
I think I have an idea as to
Okay.
what it was. It was kind of a placeholder maybe at first.
218.
The director, new position, reclass the manager in a generalist new position.
I see what I-
There you go.
Hang on.
Yeah, that was, so this is the correct
Michael,
one, the
on
228 is,
So 218 we can scratch.
yes.
So your proposal, so your role would be assistant TA, HR director,
I would ask for consideration, but I'm not assuming that that role is mine.
and then there's a human resources manager, and then an assistant,
Correct.
human resources assistant. Is that like an admin assistant, or
Yep.
you would look for somebody with like HR specific?
Would be great if they have HR and benefits, because they would be handling the day-to-day of the office. They would be more customer facing, be able to answer questions from school department and town employees. And we get a lot of school inquiries. And it would require us to shift our hours a little bit, because right now we don't accommodate for school employees.
To add a little bit of additional context, when Christine Purple left the human resource manager role last April, Michael was entertaining combining the roles with Angela Snell, and she was the assistant town administrator. Because as you've stated, it's not uncommon for that to be for the assistant town administrator to be in charge of human resources in small towns. Angela's background didn't really, I think, support that type of position. You know, her background was different, so that's why we're kind of just, I think, looking at all the options that are currently available. So to just add some context, that was something that was being entertained last year.
Is the assistant town administrator position open currently?
It is.
Is it posted?
No.
That's been open since last July, when Angela left.
So based on one of the, I guess, one of the plans for human resources, I think when the department was being created, was eventually the school side would fall into the human resources department at the town hall, where it would just become one, correct?
It does now,
It does right now?
yes.
Okay, so is there any staff that is retiring at the school side that,
Not confirmed.
okay,
Yeah, I can't speak to it, I should say.
okay, all right, so then, so with this generalist position, it would be in addition to any positions down at the superintendent's building that might be, become open?
I'm going to say yes, because I can't rely on that.
Okay,
I can't say with absolute certainty that that position will become open, or that that position will be someone who falls under
okay,
my direction. It would be wonderful, but again, it's, you know, what is the job description of that person? How much of their time is actually going to be dedicated to working HR? And then how much is it going to be school admin?
Gotcha.
I don't know that, so.
understood. But this would be the necessary, structure of an HR department that was essentially moving towards, or just got into.
I would say if we had an HR department all along that was steadily progressing, that we could probably deal with one more person. But because we are already so far behind, my predecessors left us in a place where I can focus on other things while these things just do. But just when you see something, you can't ignore it, and that liability issue, now you assume it as the director or manager. So that's the strange position, kind of awkward position that I'm in right now. And really, what I'm looking at from a big picture is we need HR strategy, we need implementation, and we need customer service. And I'm doing all three right now, but I can't do them at the same time.
If I may, Ray, but when you assumed this position, you knew that there was a shared position with the school?
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
So previously, and I don't know how much you would be available to know, I mean, Christine, when she was here, is there any data that shows how much of her time was devoted to government or to the schools?
No, not that I know.
No. So right now, how much are you split, or are you not split at all?
I'm split all day long.
Okay.
I couldn't give you an accurate number.
Okay, so you are involved every day with school business as well?
Absolutely. Not necessarily with administration, but definitely with teachers and those who have benefits or payroll deductions or anything
So a
of the sort.
variety of.
Oh, absolutely.
issues. Oh, okay.
So is this the assistant superintendent position? What position is it that's shared with the school? Or like that
HR.
role?
This is, but I don't think we share it in the budget.
Yeah.
It's in the school budget?
No, that's what I'm
What
wondering.
do you, HR has its own, as it stands right now, own department, but there's somebody who sits under the school department who helped with HR or no?
No.
So on the school side, when you're hired, the superintendent's office basically would handle all of that. And I think the transition is to,
Handle like benefits, sign up, and like HR related
Yeah.
activities.
Do like a satellite HR or an extension of my office.
Right, but the hope is, or like, what is going to happen is all of that will migrate over just to HR.
I
some point?
have no idea.
Okay,
I didn't hear about any of this until I started floating these budgets.
okay,
And then I heard directly from the superintendent that that was originally the plan, but with funding being up in the air for a lot of things school-related, there's no guarantees for anything. So I'm here pretty much on my own, saying, you know, I can't rely on that. If I'm going to ask for help, this is the opportunity.
Sounds like there's some problems exist. I mean, I'm gathering there's problems that existing there, and
Well, the reason the reason the position was created because of a lack of compliance primarily, but also too, like, of all the things that he stated were things that were bifurcated amongst other departments, and there was like a real concern about, you know, the services that we were providing, like you're saying, you've got benefits, you've got those payroll deductions, you've got a whole host of other HR-related things. So that's why it was created, but it has had some turnover. So I think with each person that's come in, we've said, please assess the situation, you know. But once employees find out they do have someone that they can speak to about these issues that is trained, then oftentimes the customer service, you know, level comes in. But we're still trying to, I think, establish the department, then also having been, you know, 8 months without it, and then prior to that, like you said, Christine left us in a good spot, but she only kind of just was able to get started on some of
who's
the things.
Christine?
Christine Purple, who was the previous HR manager.
Okay,
She was actually the first,
second, yeah, Alexis.
Alexis, but
Didn't get really
it
far.
didn't really
Yeah.
get formed per se.
the
Yeah.
problems that we're existing and are talking about right now, are they in your report? I haven't had a chance to look at your report, but it seems like.
I've identified some of the priorities in my budget memo. The actual problems in depth, I've not gone into.
So when, and that's not our position, I guess, so I'm just concerned about it. But when do we expect that? Because the dollars and cents does run into this. So is it gonna be some kind of report we put out that I'm concerned about this, this, and this, and we're attacking it this way and this way, or?
well, I think that's why we're here tonight.
Okay.
Just to hear, yeah.
That's why I'm asking the question, that's all.
So based upon the issues that you face day to day and where you see this department needing to go, these positions would be essential to the operation? Both would be essential?
If we're looking at the first proposal that would impact my budget directly only, then yes. In some form, in some capacity, and I'm going to be very clear too, I've only been here since December. I'm not done assessing what we are lacking, what we've been working on. I'm on damage control.
Just, honestly, to be honest with you, Ray, I think that splitting between the schools and the government, because HR is not an easy position, there's a lot of things that come up. I don't, honestly, I don't know how one person can do both school and government. I don't know why it was formed that way. To me, it seems more sense that government has their HR person,
can't hear what
and
she's
schools
saying.
have their HR person. But I don't know how it got to be. It just seems like it's overwhelming, and I honestly, I don't know how it could work the way it's set up, honestly, but,
I think,
and no reflection on you, I'm not saying
no,
that. I'm just
absolutely.
saying, it just seems like it's overwhelming to think that you could do both, because I think they're so completely different and more, I think the issues from the government side of it and the school issues are completely opposite.
They are vastly different, but not so much so. It's all dealing with, in a lot of cases, it's dealing with the same types of issues and referring to policy and union contracts, et cetera. So my argument was never to get schools off of me, because I haven't exactly been overwhelmed on the school side yet. Most of my school dealings have been payroll related and trying to fix that system.
But that's because you told them you can't take on that part of it, correct?
No, I haven't told them I can't take part of anything.
Oh, so they're
I've
just
been
not
doing-
giving you anything?
The superintendent gave me a little bit of grace and said, figure out what's going on here, and then for the new fiscal year, we'll get started with what's going to happen on the school side.
So do you know who was doing that aspect of it? That
I
you're
think it
not-
was a mixture of everyone.
Of just
down there.
personnel that he has down there?
Yeah.
I'd be curious just to see how he's handling it from the school side, the issues that you would have been doing and he's having done down at the school side.
I think how we handled
Ask
it
him.
in the past, each department head would do their own hiring and do their own human resources. Like the school department would do theirs, the police department would do theirs. And we'd have assistance, of course, from the town treasurer. We never had a human resource manager.
So Mark, if someone had an issue in your department, they had to go to you as the manager.
Right. When we hired somebody, or if there was an issue, the department head would handle it. So there was probably not too much consistency from
Yeah.
department to
And
department.
if it became a union issue, a union rep would then
Yeah.
become
Which-
involved in it.
Yeah. Of course, the department head would deal with the unions also
Right.
and sit in the negotiations and negotiate the contract.
Correct.
And with some of the issues that we're facing right
Yeah.
now, if there was HR, we could have mitigated those issues.
Yeah.
Excuse me, how many FTEs does the town have?
That's a very good question.
Yeah, it is.
That's part of the problem, is we can't get a correct count. Our payroll system is being updated as we speak.
What's your favorite number?
That's a good question. I want to say somewhere in the 300 range,
I
200,
can't hear you.
about 250, 300?
That's FTEs.
Yes,
How many actual employees?
it's a hard number.
I mean, on the school side of things, you know, in the superintendent's office, they have several people that are running that operation, where on the town side, this is gonna be the third time where it's one person who's responsible for, essentially creating the department, establishing the department, and growing the department. Which I think is just, you can't, I don't see how anyone could do, how one person could do that. You know, I think much like the facilities department, which that was prior to facilities where everyone was kind of siloed and managing their own, you know, their own, town property. I think now to look to see where the facilities department is, I can't imagine ever going away from that. And with human resources, if it is a long-term vision for everything to fall under one department, which would make sense, instead of having the school department siloed from the town side, taking the steps to get towards it, and not saying that it needs to happen within the next year or two, but at least if that's where the vision is, then we need to be making steps, or otherwise it may go back to exactly what you were explaining, where there's just inconsistency from department to department. Even, I think even last, under Christine Purple, there was a variety of policies in place for the same thing, and some of them were out of compliance. So, chipping away and moving forward with it. Seems like we have no other choice. Otherwise, we're just gonna keep on spinning our wheels in the mud.
So, just so I understand what I'm looking at here. School human resources function is transferring to the town hall. Is that correct?
That's always been the case, under this position. It's always been a shared position.
It's always been a shared position.
I think what he's, I think.
Oh, all right, go ahead.
I think what is happening is, I think between not having a fully functioning human resource function centrally, and maybe that position not having anybody in it for some time too, between turnover, the school sort of assumed HR functions, similar to what Chief was saying about, in past, the departments used to just handle their own HR activities. The school has just been handling their own HR activities, but the school's kind of saying, and I think you all are saying too, the preference is for everything to go through this department.
It's always been a joint hire. The superintendent and the town administrator made the hire jointly.
Made this hire,
All three.
all three of them.
So it's like
Okay.
more work is going to be coming this way in the
Okay.
near future.
But I mean, all right, now I understand. Before there was an HR director, the schools did their own,
It's the Wild West.
just like
Everybody did
the chief
right.
did,
Yeah,
or,
and did it
okay.
differently.
And now we have one person doing both
The town,
entities.
the entire town.
Now I just want to make sure I understand about these budget numbers. Because I'm looking at what I'm going to call option one at 283,961, which I guess is the one where the assistant town administrator position is not combined,
Correct.
right? So that 89,361 I'm looking at, 50, that's the assistant town administrator position. Is that right?
No, the 89,361 would be a human resources generalist.
Okay, so I don't understand why option 228 is less.
Because it's taking the budget from the town administrator, the assistant town administrator line, and combining it with the HR director.
So option one has 3 positions, the current position director plus those 2 additional positions. Whereas in option 3, that first position isn't included in the bottom line.
Correct.
Because we're saying that position already exists, that position's already budgeted.
Okay,
So then
all
it
right.
just adds. the other
Okay,
2.
all right,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, in option 2, the 89,362, that's the parentheses, that's just taking it from the town administrator's budget line. I don't know, again, if it would stay there, and then human resources would then have 2 employees, if that was the case, and that would still kind of fall under the town administrator's office.
The manager's still getting a 9.3% increase there. Is there a reason for that?
For me,
No, I'm sorry, we've got 129,451 for an assistant town administrator HR. And then the manager, looks like it's jumping from 96 to 105.
well, it was budgeted at 96, but I'm currently at 105. So this isn't reflecting any change in the budget per se. That's my current salary.
And so when you have, so where it says human resource generalist D15, that means that's the top end of that class. So
Right.
it's not necessarily that if that position was filled, it could be anything, it would be at the most that, or
At the
anything
most.
south of that.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you. So, just so you know, our boards are actually going to debrief quickly, I think, now before their meeting starts, and then we'll come back to you on, what the budget's looking like, what we're gonna be able to include and not include, or if there's any. We'll come back.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to do the health insurance first, or?
Sure, yeah.
I know it's out of order.
That's all right.
Are you our friends who are here for that?
Oh, yeah, certainly if somebody's here.
They're here.
Bad news about what
Yeah, I was gonna say, I have a feeling it might impact our discussion.
All right, so you probably all heard the bad news on the health insurance site. We got a overall increase on the medical care from Blue Cross Blue
Sorry,
Shield.
sorry, before you,
Oh,
can you just,
introduce myself?
yeah.
Ed Burns, I am a consultant from NFP, which is the consultant to the town for their health insurance.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. So 24.6% is a huge rate increase, absolutely enormous, unaffordable by any town with the possible exception of Cambridge. It's just impossible. Fact of the matter is that you get a 24% rate increase for multiple reasons. Number one was the insurance carrier underrated you a year ago. And that was a very strange circumstance because we had quotes from 3 or 4 different carriers last time we did this, and they were all about the same. They were within literally single points of each other. So everyone underestimated the risk this year, and that was caused by many things, not many things, a few things. Number one thing was probably the fact that all actuaries underestimated the impact of COVID. They underestimated the impact of primary care physicians during COVID not working and then just retiring. And then all the time that nobody could see a primary care physician to get their elective surgeries done. And all of that all came back at once and hit everybody in the Commonwealth really, really bad. Just to give you some idea of what's happening, even Maya, with Mass Interlocal Insurance Association, the biggest joint purchasing group in the Commonwealth, they have 3 rate increases, a low, a medium, and a high, and their high was over 19%, close to 20% for we have about 12 clients with Maya, and virtually every single one of our clients got the high. And the median was probably closer to 14, and the low was probably around 5. But I don't know a single municipality that got that 5. But so it's been difficult. Even the Group Insurance Commission started off with a 12% rate increase. That's what they tried to formalize, ended up closer to 15 for them. And we have tons of joint purchasing groups that are all in the high teens. And it's because of COVID, it's because of a lot of different increases going on. Specifically to Clinton, during the first 8 months with Blue Cross Blue Shield, you have one claimant who's almost $1 million in 8 months. In addition to that, you have 4 more claimants that are all over the pool level of $115,000 individually, in just a short 8-month period. Those claims are all ongoing, and obviously, if they're no longer shock loss claims if they're known to the insurance company. So therefore, the insurance company has to actually put them into their calculations for prospective cost. So that all dramatically coupled to come up with this 24.6%. We didn't simply accept 24.6. We put the case out to bid to Brigham and Women's, Mass General, Brigham and Women's, Harvard Pilgrim, obviously Blue Cross Blue Shield, and all of them declined to quote. Probably because of the large claimants, but also because they didn't feel they could be competitive with the renewal that I had told them what the renewal was, so they couldn't be competitive. Even the Group Insurance Commission, their most populated plan is more expensive than your most populated plan. With the GIC, it's very, very hard to do. We couldn't get it done in time for July 1 because you have to tell them prior to December 1st that you're going to join the GIC, and we couldn't get it all done with that kind of time frame. But their rates are actually, they have plenty of plans that are lower cost available to your employees, but most of them don't work out in central Massachusetts very well. So I just went with the most populated plan, and their rates were higher than your renewal rates. So that was another thing that we had to consider. It's just been a very, very disastrous year for health insurance. We did spend a lot of time with Ray and the town administrator and the insurance advisory committee. And during these presentations, the IAC expressed interest in the following. They wanted to remain with the same plan design that they had. We offered them a bunch of different plan change alternatives, but it didn't really ever amount to enough money to make any sense to them for any kind of change. And quite honestly, I don't disagree with that. The IAC wanted to investigate a change in the rate basis from an individual family rate. So we have two rates, just individual, family. It doesn't matter if you're just a spouse and an employee. It's, you're a family person. So we went to Blue Cross Blue Shield. We did explore that with them, and we got rates back, but it adversely impacted the majority of your population because the way Blue Cross Blue Shield does things, even though it doesn't make sense to me, they change the individual rate. And it doesn't seem to me to be any reason logically for that, but they increase the individual rate, and of course the family rate gets adversely impacted because if you're giving a rate break for people that used to be family, paying a family premium, you got to get more money out of the other people. So because you got to come up with the same premium at the end of the year. And so we presented that to the IAC, and it hurt significantly more people than it helped. So it doesn't make sense that would be an opportunity for anyone. But we presented it in any event. The IAC also we have a mitigation fund from years and years and years ago when we first went to the deductible plans. And that mitigation fund, for many reasons, lack of advertising, lack of education of the employees that it was there, complications of the complicated nature of trying to collect your funds, a lot of paperwork. Nobody used it, and there's funds just sitting there. It's not a lot of money. I can't remember, $23,000, Michael? Yeah. Something like that, $23,000 total. One of the suggestions by the IAC was, boy, it's just time to get rid of that fund and just get rid of it, just divide it up and in an appropriate mathematical fashion and get individuals their money back and families their money back. And we discussed how far should we go back to the census? Can we go back and give people, this is people from 10 years ago. And, some of them we couldn't find, some of them passed away. So we actually thought that it might be best just to take a current census and do the math and get people their money back in the simplest way we possibly can, whether that's a credit on a current monthly bill or whether it's a check. Just get the money back to people as quickly and as responsibly as we can. So that was discussed. We also, the IAC, also wanted to explore the introduction of a qualified, voluntary, high deductible health plan. So this is a health plan that has, pretty simple to use. It's got a $2,000 individual deductible during the plan year and a $4,000 family deductible. And then there's no copays, except for prescription drugs, because that's a requirement of the federal government. You got to pay for your prescription drugs. So other than that, it's a really simple plan, very uncomplicated. You know what your budget is. It's either $2,000 or $4,000. You pay up front, and then you're pretty much done. And we talked about that, and we were talking, it's about a 20% savings off of your most populated plan. So it's pretty significant money. And we talked about how we could put this in. In our last presentation, we gave them a bunch of questions, commonly asked questions about, because it is a complicated program, it's different for people, and you can actually hurt yourself pretty bad if you make a wrong decision. And it's pretty easy to do, because if you're a young, healthy person, you want to jump on it, right? Because it's going to save you a lot out of your paycheck every week. But at the same time, if you're a young person, you're not making a lot of money, you don't have any savings account yet, you get in a car accident, all of a sudden, you're in trouble. And so we bring in a third-party administrator who is very great at educating people on the use of this plan. And they're not salespeople, so they're not pushing any product. They're just trying to help people make decisions. So we talked about all of that, and we believe everything works. I just want everyone here to know that my company made a suggestion, actually it was me, that, and I make the same suggestion to every town that we bring this to, and we've had a lot of success with it. These things only work because employees are now taking a huge risk. They only work if the town takes some of their savings, and I've already done the math, of the savings to the town for each individual would more than outweigh any investment you guys could make, because your investment is limited to, you can only put in 50% of what the deductible is for any person. And we actually recommend that. So anybody who joined, you give them $1,000 into a health savings account. That money belongs to them immediately. We suggest you only give 1/12 at a time, but and then $2,000 for a family. And when you do that with the amount of 20% savings that the employees are experiencing, not that they're going to do this, but if they were to take their savings and contributions and put it in with your $1,000, it's very, very close to paying for that $2,000 deductible in the first year. And they definitely will save the family deductible of $4,000 in the first year. That's what the math tells us. That is a strong impetus to people joining this plan, which will save the towns significant money over and above what you'd be investing. So it's a great opportunity. I think the town wanted to jump in there as soon as we could, but it doesn't really make sense. It requires a lot of education. My company, along with the third-party administrator, would spend a lot of time with the employees, holding educational sessions so people understand what they're getting themselves into, so HR doesn't have a lot of complaints coming back at them later on. And but I would predict we'd want to actually coordinate it with your flexible spending accounts, because you can't be in a health savings account and a flexible spending account at the same time. You actually have to spend all your money out of the flexible spending account before you can have an HSA. So we'd want to coordinate that January 1st for the town. So I think what our recommendation would be for you guys to consider would be to have a new open enrollment period prior to January 1st, spend the summer and the fall doing educational sessions, and Let's see how many people we can get into this program, which will save everybody money, everyone. I mean, the town of Franklin has almost 40% of their population in a high deductible health plan right now. It's been about 6 years in the making, but that's how these things work. It's word of mouth. They're not going to trust the insurance guys.
No, I'm actually on the same plan, and it took a while to kind of
Oh.
understand it, but you're right, it does save.
It does. I wish I had it when I was younger.
Yeah,
I'm-
no, makes sense.
Do you ever see towns moving towards a place of only offering a high deductible to new joiners, so grandfather in people who are already on it? Only offer the high deductible to new joiners and maybe eventually only offer a high deductible plan, or is that too extreme?
No, we haven't seen that yet, but with the municipal world, which is really
Yeah.
all I work in the
Yeah.
corporate world, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
But in the world of municipalities, it does not happen. But certainly the town of Franklin is now considering this after the success they've had over a long period of time.
Yeah.
It's a slow process.
Yeah.
But, once the employees start spreading the word, and most of the time, if you do it slowly, the word is a good word. It's a positive response.
I just have a question. So with the $2,000 deductible for an individual, so once you pay the $2,000 on that deductible, then there's no more deductibles for any other events for that,
For that plan year.
for that planned year.
Correct. Except for prescription drugs.
You're right.
Yeah. It actually, when you think about it, and what I told the IAC, it's a much simpler thing to budget for than never knowing, because you have so many co-pays in your regular plans. Who knows what you're gonna be experiencing in terms of co-pays? It's difficult to budget for.
Yeah.
This is pretty easy to budget for. It may be expensive, but it's very easy to budget for.
Yeah, straightforward.
If you have the education, most people will make the right decision.
So it's all based upon how many people in the largest plan you can get.
Yeah, well,
To
you know what,
convert.
it does a few things. Just simply the offering of it makes people think about even joining the select plan maybe. It makes people start thinking about, am I in the right plan? Because I'm sure you have a ton of employees that are in the robust plan right now. And then right next to it, you have a narrow network plan. And their doctor's probably in the narrow network plan. So they could go to that and save money. But it makes people think about their choices.
So what I mean is based upon from the town side, from the financial impact side, if that plan was what was chosen, it's not necessarily, not that we would have a 20% savings going into this budget, like that right now?
No, we'd have a 20% savings on every individual that joined that plan.
So that, because I think that 24% roughly was what, 1.5 million? Was that the rough number?
Yes.
I think that was close, yeah.
Excuse me, the ones that don't join this high deductible plan, are they gonna be hit with the 24% increase?
Yes.
We're talking the same coverage in both
Same
plans
coverage, no changes to the benefit plan.
compared to the plan and the benefits in the plan now, it's the same.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep. So, once again, difficult times. Didn't mean to go through it too fast, but difficult times, but it's people all over the Commonwealth are experiencing it.
Have you experienced this before with like that pandemic's pretty unusual, but like a big jump and then it tends to level off, or?
Well, we experienced the exact same thing just prior to HMOs being introduced in America.
Yeah.
And we were experiencing 50% rate increases. And I was working not with municipalities, mostly with corporate world, but I was an underwriter or State Mutual, so I had the whole United States as my territory. And we were getting regularly 50% rate increases.
And
Yeah,
did those,
during the early 70s, there were huge rate increases.
so, and did those increases kind of like continue? Like, I guess what I'm trying to get
No,
at is
they
like,
have a lifespan of maybe 3 years. Yeah, I mean, the cycle in health insurance is normally 3 years. I mean, you'll have bad experience for 3 years. And you had it, I mean, you had a 1-year reprieve. You actually had some bad years, even with the Minuteman and the Neshoba. I mean, they weren't 24%, but they
Yeah.
were bad years. And a bad year was a 10% rate increase back then. But it's still, I mean, when you can only make 2.5%, it's, anything over that is impossible to deal with.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but a 24% just exacerbates it. But, you know, maybe you got a year off too,
Yeah.
by having a lower rate than you needed.
I just had one question. When you were saying how Franklin, it's taken 6 years for them to get into this, at what rate did you see the progression into them
It
turning?
started off at about 2 or 2.5% of the population moved in the first year, and then it slowly crept up, and then it boomed.
And you have over, what did you say, 40%?
Yeah, we're just about 40% in Franklin now,
And that's over 6 years?
over 6 years, yeah. It's pretty significant, actually.
Yeah. Thank you.
And you're seeing these rate increases like kind of across the board?
Yes.
Yeah.
Rate increases that are significantly high, I mean, once again, in the world of underwriting, whatever medical care inflation is, that's what you should expect for
Yeah.
a rate increase. And last year, that medical care, including prescription drugs, was only 7%. This year, it's like 10. So, I mean, that's almost half your rate increase is caused by an increase in medical care inflation.
One last question for me. So for the FSA, like you were mentioning, it has to be spent within the calendar year.
Right.
So the HSA, it's just an ongoing account.
It belongs to the employee the minute the money's deposited, and that money can stay there until they retire, into retirement. And the cool part is that it's not taxed when you take it out, it's not taxed when you put it in, it's not taxed when you take it out. And on top of that, you can use it to pay medical care expense, your Medicare Part B premium when you retire. That's an eligible medical care expense. So there's all sorts of things you can do with this money. And you can still use it in retirement, you know, you have to get out of the HSA, can't put any more money in once you've retired and you're Medicare eligible. But you can use that money for qualified medical care expenses even after retirement.
So it freezes once you retire.
Yeah, once you retire, the government, the IRS says you can't play anymore.
And that's what the employees are recommending?
Yes, they have already recommended, I think pretty solidly, that we should continue to explore it.
So for this
As a
year,
voluntary plan.
Yeah.
for
right.
this year though, for budget purposes, we have to
To eat it.
budget for the.
Yeah.
Yes, you're at 24.6%.
Okay, but the hope is over time, bringing that down.
Correct.
If we can introduce new plans and.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And we talked to the IAC and they totally agree with the educational aspects of this, that we not only educate people about the high deductible health plan, but also the benefits of even looking at the select plan, which is the narrow network plan, which is exactly the same benefits as your more robust plan. It just has less doctors and less hospitals.
Excuse me, can you translate that 24% into dollars for the average employee?
What did we just say, $1 million?
1.5 million, 1.5 million.
That's to the town. How about for the average employee?
I don't have that off the top of my head, but I know the HR department has already worked out the costs for an individual and a family on the many different pay periods that people have.
Do I take a guess?
Well, I can tell you without question, it's gonna be a 24.6% increase in whatever they're paying today.
Then I guess as a follow-up, Bill, to your question, Ray, can you give us, print out something that would give us something in black and white? Of what the people would experience, you know, for a cost? I think that's what you're looking
Yeah.
to get.
Yeah, and Ray actually gave it to me. He had already had it done. And so I know he has it and probably can provide it to everyone here. Yeah.
Well, that would be nice, just, I mean, before we leave, maybe if they could see it. I mean, if it's something you can do right now, I mean.
But the town management and the HR department were with us, along with the IAC, who was incredibly cooperative in all of this. And I mean, because it's as rough it is for you guys, it's equally as rough on them.
Yeah.
But everyone was very cooperative in helping out.
Good, glad they had good feedback. Any additional questions?
So I can get out of here
think
before
so.
somebody takes a shot at me.
Yeah, I know. I would leave now. No, thank you so much for all that information. Very
Oh, thank
helpful.
you very much.
Appreciate it.
I guess I do have one question. Okay. Will the people see any change in their benefits?
No.
Okay. I just wanted, you're saying that right now.
I am saying that right now. They will not see, I'm saying that right now, except for the retirees. For the next year, the active employees will see no change. Retirees will always see a change every January 1st because of the formulary for prescription drugs with
Right.
CMS, the Centers for Medicare Services. Their formulary changes for prescription drugs every January 1. So,
Which is
complete
not,
disclosure.
which is not in our control.
it's not in anyone's
Yeah.
control.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank
There
you.
go.
All right, I know you have a meeting, so
Yeah.
do you, I mean, we can always just, eventually we have to come together as subcommittees, so that's one thing. Each of our boards needs a subcommittee established, and then we can just come together and discuss budget stuff in subcommittee, or if you want to take time now, it's up to you. I know you have like another agenda.
Could we join your, like, we do another joint debriefing at like whenever your next meeting is, just to have everybody
Yeah.
before we split up?
Yeah.
And then that way we don't have to worry about there being a select board agenda after.
Yeah.
All right, okay. Yes,
It's just,
No, I think some of the things that you had outlined would be good for all of us. I know it's another meeting, but it might just expedite it in the end.
Well, I prefer to see us have one more joint meeting where, you know,
Yeah.
because we basically have just sat here and listened to everybody's request.
yeah,
And so I think that, or at least I would like to have us have some discussion, like say facilities or DPW or anything that's falls under the Board of
And
Selectmen's jurisdiction that,
And that was that was the intent of this meeting, but then also wanted to get the update on the health insurance because
Yeah,
that was kind of
and-
floating out there as a,
yes, please, I'd love to see it.
okay, so
Okay.
we'll follow up with another meeting. Is anybody traveling next week? I know it's like vacation week, no?
I'll be around.
Thursday maybe might not be good, but after
Okay.
that.
yeah, Thursday's definitely. I think it's Thursday.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
This is when I look at the top two lines, the third line wasn't really broke out like third.
All right. so
Okay, thank
we'll
you.
let you have your meeting, and I'll
Alright.
follow up.
Okay.
Pass them down.
Oh, yeah.
Want to adjourn for a couple minutes?
Yeah, we'll adjourn for a couple minutes before we start.
Take them home, so June.
It being 7:08 on April 16th, I will call the Select Board meeting to order. Is anyone here for public comment? No? Okay. Review of minutes for March 19th.
Oh, I'm sorry. Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for March 19th, 2025.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0. We have a common particular license hearing for 165 High Street. Is anyone here for that hearing? Come on up. Sit in any of the many chairs. If you could state your name and address, that would be helpful.
Certainly. My name is Joe Morera. I'm an attorney in Hudson.
Please have a seat.
And my address is 145 Main Street in Hudson. To my right is the applicant, Joaquin Vieta Jr., and he is before you to ask for approval of a common victualer's license to run the pizza shop at 165 High Street here in Clinton. I appeared before this board 2 years ago on a prior transfer. That owner now is selling the property to his brother-in-law, who sits to my right.
So this is a existing business that's being transferred.
That's correct.
All right. Any questions before we begin?
I
Okay.
could add that, we've applied obviously for the food establishment permit, and we're going through some inspection with the building department for an occupancy permit. So everything's going to be looked at again, even though I think the permits were just renewed either at the end of the year or at the beginning of this year. So we expect everything to work out very smoothly.
Since this is a hearing, we'll open it up to the hearing portion.
Sure.
Is anyone here to speak in favor of this license? Okay, we'll close that portion of the hearing. Is anyone here to speak in opposition of this license? Okay, we'll close the portion of the hearing. Any further discussion? All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the license, the common victualler license from Joaquin
Yes, me.
Vieira,
Yes.
doing business as Nina's Pizza, located at 165 High Street in Clinton.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. All right, good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, next up, we have the Mass Central Rail Trail Engineering Contract Award. We have Phil Duffy and Franny Hodge to present. I just stole your thunder. All right,
Good evening, everyone.
good evening.
We're here, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
We're here recommending an award for project oversight and clerk of the works services for the Mass Central Rail Trail in Clinton. We issued RFP, reviewed responses, and are recommending that the award be given, the contract be awarded to Pear Corporation of Foxborough.
I will,
And quick, yeah.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the recommended contractor for the Mass Central Rail Trail.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. Okay, next up we have Rauscher Farm Climate Forest Stewardship Plan Grant. You should introduce yourself.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Gloria Parkinson, 90 Haskell Avenue, also a member of the Rauscher Farm Management Subcommittee that is under the Conservation Commission. And what I'm here for, I had this material sent around earlier, so I'm asking for signatures so that the town can get reimbursed. There's two types of signatures. There's two signatures needed in the actual final draft of this forest stewardship plan. Just to put this into context, this plan is looking at all the woodlands in Rauscher Farm and updating it. We being the royal we've been looking at grasslands, and we had some money for someone to review the grasslands, and there is a wetland scientist who is donating his services to look at the wetland area. So we're trying to have a little snapshot right now of the habitats and what will need to be done in the future, or possibly in the future. So I have this document here, which is electronically, and there's two places for signatures. I've been told by the licensed forester that these have to be real signatures and cannot be electronic. So also here, these are the two reimbursement forms, and I've flagged where those two need to have a signature. And I did confer with the town accountant on these reimbursable forms of the signature. There is an option whereby the forester can be paid directly by the DCR, or it goes through the town. And after conversing with the town accountant, she wants it, prefers for it to go through the town, and that keeps, so there's a record in the town records for auditing. So I'm happy to entertain any questions if you need any questions. This has been reviewed by the Rauscher Farm Management Subcommittee, it's gone to the Conservation Commission. It's actually a very, very good final report.
Does this need a motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
The board will. And I assume, Gloria, was it just the chair needs to sign, or?
Yeah.
I think so,
Yeah.
yes.
So just a motion to allow the chair to sign the document.
So may I approach the chair?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that the select board chair sign the grant required papers.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
5-0.
May I approach?
Yes,
Okay.
please do.
Okay.
Sign now for you.
So these are the two, and you'll see there's the signatures here and here, and they give the amount, right? So this is the 3,500 for this generating the actual document, and then the 720, which is technical assistance, and that means working, which we've been doing, working with the, he's giving suggestions for next steps.
Okay.
Where to look. This is, this is when you're saying you've read the plan and you're going to try and follow it.
Okay.
Of course, we need to find money to be able to do that.
Okay, we'll work on that next.
Thank you. Smashing. And
then right here.
Yeah, then at the end, right, page 28. Okay. I'm reading upside down
Yeah.
myself. Sound under the pains of perjury, use and neglect there. And what you're saying is, forest stewardship plan, yes, while undertaking, we're going to try and put this in motion.
Okay.
All right, I believe that's it.
All right.
I want to thank Mike too, when we wrote the grant to your name, and then when shepherded it through the Selectboard signature at that point. So thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
Here's your handiwork.
Yes. Thank you all for working on it. Okay.
Thank you very
Gloria.
much.
See you.
Have a good one. All right. Next up is the fiscal year 2026 health insurance renewal update. Mr. Byrne already gave us kind of the state of the situation there. Is there any further action you need to take right now? Just an update, okay.
Well, I think, I apologize, I know I was in and out during the meeting. I think he probably just gave an update at that point. So I think if it's the board, just to adopt the renewal, the Blue Cross renewal for this year, and then Human Resources can start doing outreach to the employees and do a health fair as well too.
Okay.
So just maybe a motion to accept the rate increase. It's a 24.6% increase on the plan renewal.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up is the review of the 2025 draft town meeting warrant. So we have a preliminary warrant, it's been drafted for our review.
So Madam Chair, if I could just kind of give a quick overview. I just wanted to at least get a document in the board's hands for review. Maybe we can talk further at the next meeting. The first 11 articles are all standard articles that are on every year. And starting from 12 to 16 are facilities articles that were discussed during the budget. So I think there's still discussion as to where those are going. A majority of the remainder articles are public works articles that, again, a lot of them were talked about during the budget. And so that's going to probably need some additional discussion on those. I just have a placeholder on Article 29, and the numbers aren't right, so ignore the numbers, but it was just a placeholder because I know that with Franny Hodge and Mr. Duffy were just here, that they're looking to apply for another rail trail grant. So I don't know if they'll have an award by the time we need to finish this, so I'll follow up on that. I just put it in as a reminder and a placeholder.
Okay.
The next two are, again, just placeholders in anticipation of our negotiations with the Clinton Fire Union. Article 32 is a zoning article. The state had passed recently an accessory dwelling unit by right. People can build in their property. So the town, we don't have a choice. We need to kind of set some regulations to, as long as we're following the guidelines of the law, set some regulations of how we will implement that here in Clinton. So the planning board is looking to put together a article based on the model ADU guidelines that will have to go through a hearing and that process as well. So hopefully we'll get something shortly on that. So as soon as I get more detail, I can get that to the board. The next one, again, Mr. Duffy's working on this one. It's adopting the new federal flood management regulations that came out. They came out probably about a year ago, but each town, they don't go into effect until the town adopts them as part of our bylaw. We do have some wording in our bylaw right now. This will now need to be updated to the current regulations. If the town does not adopt those regulations, then the properties in the community would not be eligible to participate in the National Flood Insurance Program. So,
I didn't think we're doing environmental regulation anymore. We're still doing that? No? I thought they were getting rid of all those. All right, we'll just wait then. I'm sure it's on the list. They'll get to it soon.
Who?
The feds.
Okay.
This had been in effect, and I don't know if they will change, to your point. It has been worked on, I think, they originally were going to come out during the pandemic. They put it on hold, and then they finalized it this past year. So I think they have been working on them for about 4 or 5 years now. So maybe it was at a point that it's still going to continue on the process, but you never know. It could change. So. The next one is a bylaw change as well. The Personnel Board has been working on some personnel bylaw changes with HR. They had another meeting last night. I believe they're meeting next week again, I believe, to try to finalize them. So we don't have all the wording of that right now, but again, keeping a placeholder on that. And then the last is a citizen petition, again, looking for a bylaw change to allow overnight dog boarding facilities in Clinton, which, based on our current zoning regulations, that is prohibited. So people can have a doggy daycare, but there isn't any overnight or long-term boarding allowed under the bylaw.
Madam Chair, I brought this up before, and just, I'm not a lawyer by any stretch, but it doesn't seem like a lawyer's read this because
No.
it's completely nonsensical and unenforceable. At any point, do we go back to them? I've advised people before, here and informally, that if you're going to try and change the law, you should at least have a lawyer look at it, because time and time again, we get to these citizens petitions and they just hit a brick wall. So would we ever let them know that this isn't asking for anything? It's just,
We will,
Okay.
two things, because the planning board is going to be going through with the public hearing for other bylaw changes, they're going to take this one up as part of that hearing as
Okay.
well.
Okay.
So although we can't change any wording of the citizen petition, I think the planning board will come
Present their
up
own.
with some suggested amendment or
Okay.
suggested wording that would have to be then discussed on the floor of town
Okay.
meeting.
Great.
Unless, again, I mean, I guess the board could add that article on and have that as a new article that's sponsored by the select board, and then motion to table this one, the citizen petition at the town meeting. So you can
Okay.
do something that way too.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I'm just curious what they were proposing, because I was contacted about this, and I said, there's probably a reason for the current bylaw, but I don't know what it is. It could be outdated. The Board of Health might have a good reason for it, and I suggested they reach out to the people who might be overseeing the current bylaw to see what the reasoning was, if there was anything that came up prior that, maybe a good reason for it. And I never heard back. I mean, I didn't tell them to write back. So I was, before I sponsor anything, I guess I'd be curious what they're asking for and why the bylaw that is on the books now is there.
Like, well, there's a bylaw. about
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
No, good point.
So-
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So
So just,
definitely up to date, and again, I think during budget discussions, whether some of these will be reduced at this point, but
Okay.
that's what we have so far.
great. Thank you so much. Next up is the town administrator report.
No. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of issues that I wanted to address that had come in after the agenda time, but the tribute road race will be held on May 10th. They were looking to have at their start point to try and close the road on School Street, Church Street from School Street to Nelson Street from 7 to 12 p.m. On that day. That's generally where they set up the start and the finish points are at that area. So they were looking to see if there was any opposition, if the board was okay with doing that road closure for that Saturday.
Can we just have to make the motion on that one, or is it, okay. Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the request for May 10th to close Church Street from School Street to Nelson Street from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The next is similar to street closure, but the tribute is an annual race. This one is new. I don't know if we've been involved in one before, but the Revival Dance project is doing their boosters for the dance studio, are doing a fundraiser, a midnight run on June 21st. They were looking to use part of High Street, and it's going to be late at night, so hopefully it won't be interference. But they were looking from 11:30 to 1 p.m., 1 a.m., 11:30 p.m. to 1 a.m. to close High Street from Church to Union, and they're being sponsored with Chicone Fitness is helping out. So that section of that area of High Street. And then at the start of the race, they were looking to maybe from 11:45 to maybe 12:30 to have the other part of High Street from Church to Water, to have that closed just as the race gets started. And then that can open up again as they're going through the rest of their activities, and then only this section up here will be closed. So they have reached out to the police chief, who they seem to be okay with it because it's on a time of day that shouldn't be too disruptive of traffic. So just wanted to see if that's something the board would be willing to entertain, or if you'd like more information brought forward. It's not till June 21st. But
June 21st.
Put that out to the board for discussion.
Madam Chair.
Are you here to speak about it?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to add anything to that, or is that kind of, if you could, sorry, if you can come up, because these microphones, when they, yeah, that's why we have people. Just state your name and address.
Oh, Sabrina Churin. So I'm the president of the Boosters. So via fundraiser, so in corporation with like closing down High Street, it would also include like the businesses on High Street, like participating in some component of the run as well. So it would be a fundraising event, and then there would also be police detail that we would be paying for the event. So we are looking to close down High Street for a portion and like opening parts of it back up as like the race is concluding, only to keep a small portion of it closed in front of Sconie's for a little bit longer period of time. And then we are looking to get more businesses on High Street like involved in it. And we will have police detail throughout the entirety of the event. But it would be during the midnight hours. So we have like different prices and things like that for all ages to participate and make it like a fun event for kids to participate in and just do something different for the town.
How long is the race?
So it would be up and down High Street utilizing the sidewalks as well. So it would just be a couple times up and down High Street, so not long.
And this is for, what is the studio?
So Revival Dance Project, which is in Lancaster, which is in the process of relocating to Clinton.
You said in conjunction with Chiconi's?
Yes.
How far down High Street do you go and then turn around? Just curious.
So starting a little bit past Siconi's and then going through and down and turning around by like PNS Pizza.
Oh, okay. All right.
And like coming back.
Oh, okay, okay.
And then they're gonna do like a workout in front of Siconi's Fitness.
Okay.
Is anything still open at that time? Like, I'm guessing Liberty is.
Possibly. I don't know for sure.
Which if it was, we'd probably end closer, if that was the case.
I think my only question would be like, is there any like kind of noise ordinance or anything, or is it gonna be outside?
It's gonna be outside. The noise ordinance, I'm not
Or
sure. I
maybe
would
just double
definitely
check on that.
ask, yeah.
And you've already reviewed like your plans with the police chief, as you said?
We have, yes.
Okay.
Which they did approve and just said we would need your approval.
Okay.
So are they running, so we're, the ask is to close High Street in front of Chiconi's, like from Church to Union, for like the start and the finish.
Yes.
And are they running on the street or are they running on the sidewalk once they get going?
And are cars cleared?
Cars are not, the cars that are on the road are not clear, like they're not clearing the road. But there will be police with us the whole time. So like if someone needed to leave, they could leave.
For like the Halloween walk.
So are they running on the road or on the sidewalk?
A mixture of like the road and sidewalk, because we have all ages, so we're
Yeah.
kind of like separating a little bit based on ages.
Okay.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Also moved, Madam Chairman, saying that the police chief is given his stamp of approval.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. I did ask our downtown consultant who works with these departments for the Halloween walk, where we shut down, to maybe just create just a small bulleted checklist of the things that she does. It's a little bit different because all the businesses are open and the car, but hopefully that will help you in your planning moving
Okay,
forward.
thank you.
You're all set to plan.
Thank you so
All right,
much.
Good luck. Okay.
Just a couple of other quick
Okay, great.
things. Just wanted to
Thanks.
circle back where the board had supported the request for the Polar Park Day for the high school, and they were able to move forward with that event. So I believe it's May 12th that the Clinton High School baseball team will be playing at Polar Park. So I hope there'll be a lot of support for the community to be there to see that game. So, thank you. And the last thing, just to let the board and the public know that the state has renewed remote meetings of municipal boards. It's been extended for 2 years, so that can continue on. We do have some boards that utilize that here in Clinton, so I think a lot of communities across the state, it's become a regular practice, so there was a lot of support to continue that in the future. The state has been apprehensive of making it permanent because they would like to see some type of hybrid. So even if there is a remote meeting, that they should be allowed kind of a hybrid participation in person and remote. And I think a lot of communities would, be an unfunded mandate of technology. I think there's some concern about not moving too quickly on doing that until they kind of work out all of the guidance and advisories for technology. So that's mostly what I have to date, other than kind of budget process and moving towards town meeting. So town meeting is early this year, so it's on June 2nd. So it does just push up our timeline a little bit further. So we just need to have a week notice for the warrant, and the budget needs to be on file for a week ahead of time. So it just kind of backs up sometimes. Once we get through the cycle, it'll be like a June 6th or 7th and further in, and you kind of freeze up another week. But this way, it's very early this year, so.
Okay, friends, Clintonians, June 2nd, town meeting, save the date. Did you want to add something?
Yes, do you have any status on the annual town report?
Just that we've gotten all the information, so we're just formatting it now so that it can get printed up, so.
Excellent.
Definitely people were very cooperative this year, so it's in the queue for getting it done. It won't be, it'll be prior to town meeting. It won't be like that week of or that day of or something.
Okay.
It'll be prior to, because we do have pretty much all of the submittals, and even some of the offices that there was turnover, they had made sure that they had gotten those done for us from the prior year, so it was good.
Excellent.
Thank you. Next up, we have the town hall use request. Clinton High School principal has requested the use of town hall auditorium in case of inclement weather to host graduation exercises for the class of 2025 on Saturday, June 7th, 2025.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the town hall use request for Clinton High School graduation on June 7th, 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Late night closing. The Clinton Turnverein is requesting late night closings on Saturdays for their establishment during 2025. Okay, so the,
Madam
yeah.
Chair, just to add a little context, they had kind of asked for maybe some, couple of dates upcoming that they
Yeah.
might have here or there.
I saw.
But I know the board in the past has set a policy that if they ask, they can have it for the year unless they show that there's been some problems, a reason not to. So I just thought it might be easier if they just got the blanket approval, then they wouldn't have to keep coming back every time they did it, so.
And that late night closing time is 1 o'clock?
Yep, right. It's on Saturdays until 1 o'clock, so the strange thing with our 1972 liquor regulations here in Clinton, Thursdays and Fridays are open till 1, but then Saturday closes at midnight, I'm sorry. So that's why everyone would come and say, well, usually Saturday is the day that people would be going out, so then it had this tradition of having to come for a late night
Yeah.
extension on Saturdays, where the previous day, it's automatic, so.
You said that's in the bylaws?
It's
Or
a
liquor
it's a,
license?
use,
Use liquor-
hours of operation, use regulation by the licensing authority, so.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the late night closing request for Clinton Turnverein during 2025, for Saturdays during 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0.
Madam Chairman, before we get into what's been printed for old and new business, just an update. We did meet on the second-class car licenses.
Oh,
That went through a town meeting, that they put a moratorium for a year. So the board did meet, and we do have a number of changes that we're going to be tweaking with the existing bylaws that we do have. And our understanding is that it doesn't have to go back to town meeting, go by just the approval of the Board of Selectmen. One of the other issues that we did talk about, and I know, Sean, you're on conservation,
Yes.
and I don't know if anybody's been by the place on Berlin Road. And we had awarded them 6 vehicles. And I did go by there last week, this past week, and I did take pictures. And I counted well over 35 cars, and he's got them stacked 3, 4, 5 back that are in wetlands.
Okay.
So I think conservation probably needs to take a look. And if you ride by, you'll see that there's huge number. Some of them have plates on them, but I don't know if those are valid plates or not, but there was a lot without plates too. But I know that license was a 6-car license.
Is the building inspector doing anything, or do we have to do something?
Well, I know that it was mentioned that it isn't wetlands.
But it's also more than
Well,
6.
that'd be the Board of Selectmen, actually.
Yep.
We have the authority to have them come in for a hearing and you can revoke it. I would like to see the board at least ride by and take a look. And, but I know that it was brought up that it looks like there's a violation
What was the address again, Mary Rose?
over on Berlin Road across from the town line.
Okay.
And there are also a couple other places too, down BP, the old BP station, down by Shaw's. I know they were awarded 12 cars. And I've never been by, that has them at least close to 20 or 20.
What's the enforcement policy now? Like, what, we have to authorize it, or the building inspector can tell them if it's this clear?
And I think the building inspector, if they're in violation of their license, can go and give them notice if they're over the vehicle limit. So if there's, I don't know what the building inspector, like what their authority, if there is a environmental violation.
Sure. I'm just saying 6 is 30 something is longer than
But
6.
they're over the count.
Yeah.
He can.
I'm happy to talk to the chair about getting it on our next agenda. I think we meet next week. But if it's that egregious, I mean, I'd be in favor of doing what we should be doing, which is enforcing these things and not relying on a task force to be driving around.
Have you seen it?
No, I haven't. I'll take a spin.
Okay, we have like an action item.
But anyways, I just want to bring that up, and they did talk, and I know, Sean, you are on the conservation, and they felt that it was a violation.
I understand. I'll bring it up for our meeting on the 23rd. In the meantime, can we just tell them that they have too many cars on their property? I mean, do we have to vote on that?
No, I think
Okay.
the
No, I
building
think it's just-
inspector, yeah.
Yeah.
Is he on the committee?
Yes, he was on the committee, yeah. Yeah, he's on the committee.
Green light.
Send a letter. Make a phone call. Yeah. Okay, great. So the building inspector is, you're gonna
Yeah,
ask
yeah,
if he
I think Mike
can
will probably get.
just send
Reach
a,
out
Yeah.
to
no,
Mr.
give a standard noticing.
But I think that's one of the issues, is these people come in and they say, oh, I want so many cars and I'm gonna have a good lot and, you know, I'm gonna keep it up. But I mean, I think if you go by that one down at BP, I mean, there's cracked windows, it's not the most becoming, you know, lot. But there again, they come in, they get their license and that's pretty much until next year.
It just sounds like it's an enforcement issue, though. If it's out in the open and you can drive by and see it, I would think that any town employee who's responsible for enforcing it could do the same regularly. I don't know, it doesn't seem like I'm sure the task force is coming up with some great recommendations, big picture, but I think this is a very boots on the ground, small picture thing, that if someone has 5 times as many cars as they're supposed to have, that's too many. So I don't know where we're falling through the cracks here, if we need to let people know that that's completely within their purview to enforce, or if, I don't know, what do we need to tell them to say that 30 is 5 times as more than 6?
I think we just found out, like now. I mean, I didn't know about it. I wasn't aware of it. And so if the building inspector, is he the one that enforces it, Michael?
Yes.
Yeah, so Michael can communicate back to him and he can go down and have a conversation with the property owners and tell them.
But in fairness to the building inspector, I mean, we are going through a transition there, so, but whatever. I mean, because I think our building inspector that we've had has done a tremendous job, so, I mean, I don't.
Didn't say anything to the
No,
contrary.
no, I know that, Sean, I'm just, but whatever.
Yeah,
I'll talk,
Yeah,
I'll
I mean,
talk to
I
my
guess it's
chair
all part
tomorrow.
of I guess it's all part of the process of, like you
Yeah,
said, trying
yeah.
the moratorium, why we did the moratorium, to try to
Yep.
also kind of put a spotlight on, you're right,
Yeah,
people are
and
coming
I
to
think
us
some of
and
the
saying
new-
they're doing this.
The new things that are gonna be required, I think it'll make a big, big difference.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, well, thanks for working on that.
yeah.
Okay.
So that'll be coming before the board, because the board has to approve it.
Okay,
So we're just fine tuning it.
great. Okay. All right, old and new business is up next. Personnel update. We have posted the town administrator job to the website with a preferred date of April 25th for candidates to submit their interest in the position. So just wanted to start the discussion on potentially a search committee for the town administrator. In the past, we've had kind of a couple people from this board, a couple of people from other boards, but obviously this is a different hiring process. So just wanted to, I don't have a recommendation right at this moment, but plan to research it, to see what other towns may have done as part of their process so that we can move forward once we have organized those resumes.
Madam
I'd
Chair.
love to serve, I'm sorry.
No, it's
Yeah,
okay.
no,
I would make the recommendation that the select board be the search committee. I think based upon, the town administrator reports directly to the select board, and also just for the sake of efficiency, I think every one of us should have the opportunity to sit on that, so.
Yeah.
I would not want to be put in a position where we're choosing between who can be on it and who cannot.
No,
I
yeah,
think we all have
I agree with
an
you.
equal voice.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And obviously with, human resources being a part of that process as well.
Then I think in that case, it would, I'll check on like the open meeting laws. I think they would apply for it. So I think the only question I would have regarding that, but certainly welcome any additional suggestions you have in terms of what we're missing, what we might consider doing.
So my understanding is if the board is going to participate in screening and interviewing these applicants, they all have to happen during an open meeting. It could be less than quorum of the board to be part of a screening committee to start screening applicants. And in that case, I suggest getting other department heads or other board heads, kind of figuring out what your best bet is to bring people in to start screening those applicants and looking at who you want to bring in to have those interviews with.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if we wanted to screen one-on-one and send them through you to collate or to tabulate, I guess, would that satisfy the open meeting law since we're not actually talking to each other, but doing it on our own?
Town administrator? What is your
So if we all
suggestion in terms of that?
got all the resumes and we presented our top 10 ranked or top 20 or whatever, if we're that lucky, and the HR director tabulated and came up with the list, that wouldn't be an open meeting
Nope.
law violation. We'd be
Nope,
doing it
as long as they're all done individually and no collaboration, then
Right.
yep, you can do that.
I would be on board with that. I think if, whether it would be getting together and kind of setting the parameters on
Yeah.
what we're looking for, and then once everybody had that information, if that was, we do that in open meeting.
Yeah.
Once we have that information, then proceed to the next step.
I have a screening tool that could help with that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think even we had a rubric with the search consultant, something to that effect where we could maybe prioritize certain things we're looking for to help guide us. So if you have a tool, that would be very helpful.
Sure. How common is it for like first round interviews to be held in public session like that? I know generally,
No,
I hear
not
about
very.
generally like, no.
It's not for first round, no.
I guess that's what I'm a
Not for
little
my
concerned
experience.
about, because I'm not worried about final round since I see that a lot, but maybe first round, especially if someone hasn't told their employer that they're looking for another job. Whether that might either lessen our pool or make people hesitant to apply at the same time, I guess.
All right, maybe I'll just kind of like research there's a lot of people looking for town administrators now, so maybe there's I'm actually meeting with some people from the Mass Municipal Association on Saturday, so I can maybe pick their brains if they've been through this before, and between Ray and I, we can maybe look at a few options that we can discuss at our next meeting or a future meeting.
I mean, if the post is not closing, but if the applications are coming in on the 25th, then how long would we expect that process to take before we can kind of begin?
The screening process,
Yeah, I mean, if people,
the 25th is a Friday. We'd have to like review the resumes collectively, get back, and then identify maybe the top 5 candidates. Typically, I would imagine that might take at least a week, 10 days, depending.
It all depends on
On the
how
speed
quickly
of
the
the-
board
yeah.
reviews.
And the timing of the
I mean,
availability.
if you'd be open to it, is there any possibility of having kind of like an initial screening where if there's if nobody, if a candidate doesn't meet any requirements, kind of like just put them onto the side to kind of get it
Yeah.
down to the nitty gritty.
So what I'll do is, so the preference date is the 25th, so we'll still receive applications after that. So if we have this first round of applicants who don't match or we're not interested, we move on to the next batch and start pulling people forward. What I'll do is I'll screen the applicants. We do have some already, I've not screened them yet, but you'll still receive them. You'll see how I screen them out.
Yeah.
You'll see my scoring, and then what you'll do is you'll do your scoring, and I can bring those scores together and you can discuss how to bring them in.
Very good.
Maybe at that point, we can anonymize that if we're discussing it in open meeting. Their names.
Yeah.
Just candidate A, candidate B, candidate C, until we
definitely
get to
preferred.
that point. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we've like, obviously in the past had like a smaller subcommittee of people that hasn't required open meeting, so it's a little bit, like you said, not necessarily speaking publicly about people who are looking for positions, so.
I mean, you know, the counter to the concern, to Sean's concerns that you raised would be the process would be completely transparent, which is something that would think would add some value to it, being that maybe that wasn't always the case.
All right, let's start with that plan, and I can, like I said, I'll ask some other officials in town and see how they have approached it in the past, and we can go from there. All right, thank you for your input, as always. And speaking of building commissioner appointment,
Madam Chair, thank you. Just wanted to follow up on the process. I know it's been kind of out there for a while. There was a meeting of the 3 boards talking about this position. There seemed to be some support to move forward with Personnel Board looking at a reclassification, whether that's temporary or permanent or whatever, to look at where these positions should fall. So through Human Resources, worked with Personnel Board, they did support the reclassification of this position. It's at a grade H, I believe. And then Mr. Aguirre then reached out to the previous candidate that we had gone through the process with and was still interested and was able to come up with a negotiation based on that new range to be able to kind of meet what he was looking for. So with that, Madam Chair, I'd like to put forward the name of Gary Smith from Westminster to be as appointment for a new building commissioner. The salary negotiated was at the grade H, step 4, $116,227. Mr. Smith was been a long-term employee in Concord and looking for 3 weeks vacation. Normally employees start with 2. Personnel Board did support that as well too. If approved, he would be available to begin on June 2nd. And with our special legislation for town administrator appointment, these positions would go to notice before the select board and then have 15 days to determine your thoughts on the matter. So Mr. Smith has been a number of years building inspector in Concord. He has then gone forward and received his building commissioner license. So here in Clinton, we would then be able to use him to operate our whole department, where right now we are using consultants commissioner license, and Mr. Salmon has been doing the day-to-day building inspector work. And I want to thank Jim Salmon. He's been absolutely fantastic at the time he's been here. We've been able to work well together, and he's worked really hard and done a good job for the town, and he will certainly be missed. And depending on a review of the department, whether or not maybe there might be some need for additional services, but we'll cross that road when we get to it as well too, so. So with that, I wanted to bring that forward for the board's consideration.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the town administrator's recommendation on the building commissioner.
Madam Chair, I think we just have to waive our 14 day.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So
Veto list,
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
if you want to withdraw that, I'll move that we waive our, the buffer period and allow the administrator to make the hire immediately.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Salmon.
Yeah, I wanted to echo what Mike
Yeah.
said about Jimmy. He stayed on late to
know.
help us out and always went above and beyond. It was a pleasure to work with. He certainly be missed, and I hope to see him around town a little more relaxed.
Yeah. Okay, next up, we have the Hero Act property tax abatement.
Sure, Madam Chair, so I had met with our veteran service office, and with the HERO Act being passed, it allows for an additional exemption for veterans. And so to look at it, Mr. Bailey had spoke with the assessor's office, and the number was approximately, it would add approximately $50,000 based upon the current number of veterans. And so in just looking at it, the town accountant, I had received some figures because I was looking at the tax abatement that the program we have for the seniors and for the veterans that we had increased to $50,000 a couple years ago. So as of fiscal year '23, only 21% of the allocated amount was actually taken advantage of. It was $10,741.32. The following fiscal year in '24, there was 34% of that, which was $16,770. And then FY '25, 27%, which is $13,386.25. So, which kind of raised two questions. You know, number one, why does this program not seem to be that successful in my eyes? I would hope that we could see more people taking advantage of it. So I'm not really sure where that issue lies. And then the other question would be, you know, being that we haven't even approached the $25,000 that I think that it was initially, you know, is there a possibility of using some of that $25,000 to offset any increase from the overlay account to meet the needs of the HERO Act, where if it is 50,000.
Matt, just a little bit of information on this.
Sure.
Do they have to apply for this as well? Or is it
So
an automatic?
this was an automatic, and it's already the statute through the state already defines the eligibility requirements. So they would be required to show documentation annually to the assessor's office. So it would be nothing that the town would have to set parameters for.
Is there a minimum residence? Like, you have to be.
So that was one question I asked. So when I looked on on the state, at the state level, there's not. But I had asked the same question to Mr. Bailey, if, you know, is that something we could implement? So he was gonna find out any information on that. The state had sent out just a template for the exemption, what it would look like or how it would read if it was to become an article. So, you know, to your point, that's what I have right now.
So what percentage of disability makes them available for this benefit?
It can range, I think, from 10% to 100%.
And Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's a great idea, and when the local veteran contacted me about it, I reached out to Brendan too. The difference about this is we don't get reimbursed. So I think that was the issue that we had. We want to make sure it's different other tax breaks, the state or the federal government reimburses at least part of it, and this isn't it. So we just want to see what kind of impact, and thanks for looking that up. So the 50,000, we'd have to absorb that, the town, not without any assistance. So that's the key difference between this and other programs. On the senior thing, I know we've had some issues in the past trying to get people jobs to do. We don't turn anybody away. It might not always be easy, but we are dealing with everyone who requests it.
Right, yeah, so anyone that does apply, we find work for them. It's administered through the Senior Center Council on Aging. And when the veteran piece came into it, they do try to advise with the Veterans Office as well too. So, but we haven't had a position where either A, we couldn't find a job for them, we'll find something, or B, where to Mr. Kova's point, where it's been full that we had to say no. So, so whoever applies, we can take into consideration. With that program, it's a work-off program, so it isn't just an automatic abatement that you have to put in so many hours to do that. So we try to work with people as best we can, and so that if they really qualify, it is something that we want to make sure they get. So, and with this new provision, I think as Mr. Kovas is bringing it up, because it is an enabling statute by this act, but it is local option, so it's not mandated. So we would have to go to town meeting and ask the town to adopt it to be in effect in Clinton.
So if every eligible veteran took advantage of this, the most it would cost the town is 50,000?
That was my understanding.
We can look at, you know, definitively what the max would be, but that was the number, the projected number. That
Okay.
I think that was a projection that was based on what some of the current veterans are getting, and if the amount was increased or more opportunity would be eligible, that's kind of an estimate of what that would be. However, there might be other veterans in town that we're not aware of that can always come forward as well too, not just the ones that are in the program now.
Is the, so I know we're talking about kind of raising the question of why is it, for lack of a better term, why is this underutilized? Could it just be that many veterans might not just be aware that this is available to them?
So there's two things. So one, what I think you're referring to is the rebate program the town puts the $50,000 forward on.
Okay.
For the senior center and the
The
veterans.
work-off program.
The work-off. So there's a possibility that maybe the veterans, maybe some of them are not aware of it, or maybe some seniors are not aware of it.
Okay.
Maybe they're not able to do the work.
Yeah,
Maybe
able to.
that could be an issue too, that they can't do the work.
So I think even the parameters, in talking with Mr. Bailey, he was mentioning that because of the way that the statute is, that family members of veterans are permitted to work, but not for seniors. The
Right.
seniors can't have someone else do the work, so.
Right.
So a family member could work on behalf of a veteran, but not
Exactly.
for a senior. Gotcha.
And in this, you know, so the two options that were thrown out there by the state, there was one that was an annual COLA increase, and then the other one is just an additional exemption. And it was the recommendation to do the additional exemption because it becomes a flat rate that doesn't there's no percentage change annually. So, the numbers, essentially you could go up, there's a certain number you can go up to. So that was the option that was recommended. But we can have something that's, a little more, concrete and see if there's any, desire for the select board to endorse this, or whether it needs to be done through a citizen's petition.
Right, yeah, so I think if the next meeting, as we go through the warrant and board, get more information, you can determine if you want to add that on to an article. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't have any problem doing it if he had more information with that,
Yeah.
you know. Just, put it on as an article, but I think you need to tighten it up, so if there's any questions that come off the floor, you got the
Exactly.
answers to them.
You know, and if we were to reduce the work-off program from 50 back to 25, being that we haven't come close, could that, I don't know if they're imaginary funds per se, where you take 25 from here, could you allocate it to the overlay, the assessor's overlay, or?
Yeah, no, the assessor's overlay is just one fund, so certainly whatever the authorization, that can go against that. Yep, so. So if you do limit the work-off program, then they know that's all that can come out of that fund, that amount. Yeah. And that's what their regular abatements, if somebody's contesting their property value with their tax bill, it would all come out of that abatement fund, so.
Because that position, they don't have to show, like this one, they have to be at least 10% or over in disability. The other, they just have to be a veteran, correct?
Right, yeah, yeah.
So it's a different set of rules, basically, so, yeah, that's why you just need to have it defined if you're gonna do one or the other,
Right.
or both, you know.
Exactly right. And where the senior center does the administering of it, then maybe we can have a conversation between the COA director and the veterans agent on seeing what we can do to kind of either educate the public that this is available, or educate the staff to let them know that it's available. Where some of the positions that have come through as requests during this budget season, I'm familiar with someone who used to do, the weekly or bi-weekly warrant articles for one of the departments, so they can be utilized to offset some of the shortage.
Right, and you're also gonna have a fair amount of administrative work too.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna have to show verification that they are, a disabled veteran, receiving, so you do have some, and who would actually would be the one, I don't know if it would be HR or for the veterans, or, so you have to figure that out as
Yeah.
well too.
Well, the good news is that all came down from the state.
Yep.
So it's already there, which I guess could also be bad news, but I'll definitely put something together for our next meeting.
Great, thank you. And next we have commercial property vacancy registration.
So I had met with Phil Duffy and Lee Abdella about the vacant property registration. And just to get an idea of, we reviewed different registrations that are already in action throughout the state, and looking to see, number one, what's the objective? What are we trying to do? And then where would be a good starting point? Fortunately for Clinton, compared to some of the other communities that have these registries, like the Lowells and the Fitchburgs that are significantly larger than Clinton, you're not talking about many properties in town. So the enforcement aspect of it could be more easily digestible. And then, what we kind of landed on was, for step one, even if it's just creating the registry. So for example, with the Scooby's property, once that becomes vacant, then that information, the contact information needs to be provided when they register. So then any ongoing issues with the property, you know who to contact versus having to go through the Realtor. And additionally, you know, was looking at defining, you know, the areas you want to look at. Are you focusing on storefronts, which many of these registries do? Or are you also including second floor commercial property? So that's, as we started getting into that piece of it, it was like, okay, well, let's just start with one step. And I also made the recommendation that to look at residential property. You know, we've heard from a couple of residents in town that have property that's next to them that is, that has been vacant for several years, even though the owners are continuing to pay taxes, but it creates, you know, a rodent issue, and then it's trying to address that. So, which is also common in some of these registries throughout the state. So some of it was residential, commercial, and then Mr. Duffy was gonna look into the industrial side as well, because it seemed like that was one area where nothing was really defined, so he wanted to kind of take a look as to why. But with, you know, depending on the process, he was gonna meet with Mr. Ward to look at what would be the timeline on that would exist for us to maybe try to get this on the warrant for this town meeting, or is it something that we might have to wait for a special town meeting shortly thereafter? But I think it gives some teeth to the process, and, you know, the registration fee, it can be set however you wish as far as, you know, minimal, but then it would escalate, you know, so I think you kind of you look at, well, if it's on the property owners, if it's their responsibility to register and they're not, do you kind of bump up the fine for not doing that to try to get them to come into the door to open those lines of communication? So those are a few things just to kind of figure out, but I think at the bottom line, just to keep it simple as a building block, get everybody, all the stakeholders in the room, so that way you're not putting any additional constraints on, you know, our permitting department or the health department, and try to find something that's manageable, but allows for a little bit of repercussions. That was it.
In their research, has there been many that, I know some are a little bit in that early inception period. Like, have other municipalities found success in remedying? Like the vacant, maybe I'm thinking residential too, the vacancy, you know, it's like people are willing to like pay the taxes, but not, you know,
Yeah.
how do you
Right, so
move forward?
it definitely seemed to be kind of all over the place. You know, when you're looking at, you know, one community we found was Hull. And Hull was primarily commercial. You know, and then you look at the other side of it, which was Lowell, which they had, you know, very steep fines, you know, which I'm sure is to keep the vacant properties from turning into something else.
Yeah.
But, there really wasn't anything out there that was like, these programs are working. I mean, the only thing that I really found that was a testament to it was in San Francisco. They went with this, and it seems like they've had some positive results, and that's kind of what seems to have been adopted by the Fitchburgs and the Lowells.
Great. Every community's different, so I'm sure there's different challenges all along, but if people are making progress, or, you know, how do we adapt what they've learned to what we need here, so.
You know, and it comes back to, you know, something that even, you know, Mr. DeVault has mentioned in the past, where if property is vacant because you have owners that are not willing or able to make the financial investment and to bring in the location up to code, and are therefore looking to kind of put it on the renter's shoulders. But at least, you know, I think just by opening those lines of communication to figure out where things are, you know, I think that there needs to be a starting point for that, where now we have a running record on, you know, well, you said, you know, this is what your projection was for 3 to 5 years, and here we are at year, you know, 10, and it's still vacant, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it has economic implications, but it's also community pride and, you know, pride in where you're living and, you know, what the quality of life is here in Clinton and like a lot of different factors, so. All right,
Could we take the money that we find them, put it into a fund
Yeah.
to issue grants to help leasers renovate the property? That way they're gonna renovate it one way or another?
I think that's a great
Yeah.
idea. If legally that can be done, and
Yeah.
I think that's a phenomenal idea.
some incentive, yeah. All right.
Great.
No, thanks for that update and for doing that research too. All right, that's it for our agenda.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? 5-0.